Okay, this duct tape might actually be doing a good job of... You just weren't forceful enough. Some of us have been training our door opening arm since the summer.
You keep sticking your fingers in somewhere.
I am a master at finding places for my fingers to go.
There is not enough space here for you, man.
I'm using the mirror trick. Watching what's going on off the reflection here. First thing, when we're removing the old windows, noted that they look to be from 96, so
that's true.
28-year-old original windows.
You have a gun now.
I have a gun. I just received professional training with my gun. Something's been brought to my attention that I feel the need to address. It's been pointed out to me that I have been packing a jolly Christmas belly. Chris here with Calgary Home Inspector Corp, back again with Ecoline windows and doors. And this is holiday season, so right now we're checking our list and seeing who needs new windows for Christmas. And this home might be in the range of 25 to 30 years old, and it definitely looks like it's making the cut. And we're getting some new windows in here. So the guys have already pulled out 2 up on the upper floor and are making quick work of this one. So we'll go in and check out how everything's looking. Is that locked?
You can get in.
I think it's locked. But I also can't tell because the handle's like coming off the door a little bit. So I don't know if it's just me or... Oh, it was just me. So we're at the rear of the house here, and we have just found that these windows in this home is from 1996. So looking at 28-year-old windows, we can see little bits of condensation forming, specifically in the corners of the window, and a little bit of bacterial growth that's happening inside the frame. So definitely due for a replacement. Okay, so looking at that same window that we just started with, you can see this will pick up temperature gradient, this thermal camera. So inside the home, we're around 20 degrees. Outside, we're minus 10 or worse. This is detecting points on the window that are in the 4-degree range right now. So we're losing, 16 degrees of heat through this window. As well, you can see the particularly dark spots there in the corner if I move the camera down. 1-2 degrees there, and that's where we were seeing the condensation. So this window isn't performing very well and isn't retaining a lot of heat in the home. As well in the summer, that's where we'll see the opposite. If we had air conditioning in here, this room would be cool and that window would just be cooking. Yeah, same thing, like 3 degrees on that window. That's just gonna get exasperated when it's minus 40. So right now it's a modest minus 10 degree. So it's just the very onset of winter. Our favorite bat insulation, and we got these little wood frame backings that are installed. So again, compared to the new vinyl frame that's gonna cover the full depth of this sill and jamb and window opening. Older style window, we had to box that back in to fill out the rest of the frame. So bathroom, we have a lot of condensation that's building up and forming on the window itself. We do have a bathroom fan, looks like it's a little outdated, possibly underpowered for ventilating any moisture out of this area. And then I wish I could say I understood the purpose of this duct tape, but I don't. What it might be is an attempt to seal between the vinyl and the glass to prevent any air leakage around those areas, but it's not doing anything. It's flapping around here. Maybe this one's a security feature.
Maybe they tried to make like from double pane to triple pane.
Yeah, we do see that more often than we would like. It might be security. Okay, this duct tape might actually be doing a good job of offering security. It's not always about the aesthetics. Sometimes it's just performance. And that was all the duct tape that was holding that on. So pro tip that we just learned, always happy to learn something new. If you need to secure your windows from forced entry, duct tape might be the way to go. So on the inside face of this screen, there's actually some frost buildup that's already developing. Again, that's just gonna get worse as winter goes on, as we don't get those full thaw cycles for this to melt. And then all around the inside, again, we have growth that's happening at the base of the frame, up in the header of the frame, and then even on the inside of the vinyl of the window itself here. So there's a lot of moisture and environment for bacterial growth that's occurring. All right, these two openings look like they're in great condition, which for 28-year-old home is fantastic. We want to see that. It means the rest of the home is doing its job. It's shedding water effectively, keeping it away from these areas and keeping everything dry. So while the windows are underperforming, we don't have to do any frame repairs or any treatments other than our new flashing membrane, our spray installation, and getting a new window in to get these windows updated. So nice clean installation coming up. Oh, good, good. So here we have some of the old windows that have been pulled out. As you can see, the actual window system is very thin in comparison to the new ones that'll be put in. So these will just be dual pane windows, and as you can also see, they're just getting a little bit of wear. Some of the weather stripping and brushings are being compressed. So over, again, 25 years, these things just open and closing repeatedly are going to see some natural wear and tear and become due for an update. So now that we got that inside casing removed, I just want to point out he's still in the process of removing this window, but you can see there's absolutely nothing on the sill. This is completely bare. So there's no flashing membrane, there's no building paper that's been wrapped in. So that sill is largely unprotected. Again, I'm glad to see these are in good condition, but should any water ingress have happened, it would have led to additional damage of that sill by not having some type of protective membrane there. Okay, further to it not having paper and any envelope wrapping the sill, this window is sitting directly on the frame. So it hasn't been shimmed up. We don't have a back dam here. There's no insulation that's been added at this level. You can see we have a slight gap around the sides and the top. Again, windows are a weak point, so they're usually a lower thermal area. So the fact that we're getting that thermal bridging of cold between hard frame, this vinyl, and outside gives a pathway for thermal variance to occur very easily. So when we get the new window in, it's going to get shimmed up, framed in a little bit so that we can properly insulate around the entire perimeter of this window. Another reason that this sill should be protected though, because you do have a big hole, which is normal. Like we have, knots and notches in our framing members, but if any water was to get in here, it's just going to seep into the wall. So again, glad to see it's in good condition, but definitely I'm going to be happier to see that area covered. Something's been brought to my attention that I feel the need to address. It's been pointed out to me that I have been packing a jolly Christmas belly, and it's not that I have been adding the pounds for Christmas to round out my Santa look. It is simply where I'm holding my thermal camera today. So please, no judgment. Still keeping it in, keeping it lean.
You're still in the shape.
Staying in shape. Not trying to put on a full Santa look, just a hat. We're just separating the glass from the frame right now, but I can see just standing back here is how wet the inside along the base of the glass there is. So that's moisture that's just sitting and been accumulated inside the window essentially.
There's not enough space here for you, man.
I'm using the mirror trick, watching what's going on off the reflection here. Yeah, there's lots of moisture in there. All on the inside here, little bits of ice, a little freezing that's happening. It's not the nicest window to look at. So we were just speaking to the installer, asking if this is glass or ice, and it is indeed ice. I can feel it melting in my fingers. But we were just noting that its presence was below the frame, just sitting on underneath the windowsill there. So that's just sitting there waiting to melt and cause water damage. And as we can see, this window, in comparison to the ones in the bedrooms, a little more moisture staining on this frame. Again, these are usually the worst rooms where we have a lot of condensation and opportunity for that to build up and try to escape the room through the window and the surround. So still in overall really good condition, but I definitely suspect this would be the worst frame that we look at here. All right, so right now we're just prepping the 3M flashing membrane to treat this sill and the rest of the ones in this home, since they currently have nothing on them. This is what's going to protect the framing from any water ingress as that occurs, if that occurs. It's just a good safety measure to have in place. As we saw in this home, it's done well in not incurring any moisture damage to the framing, but I always feel better about having some kind of secondary, tertiary measures to protect these elements of the building. And most importantly, this is going to cover up that hole that we looked at earlier. We just have a few questions for you. So first thing, when we're removing the old windows, noted that they look to be from 96. So
that's true.
28-year-old original windows.
They are.
And then question is, how long have you owned the home and been here yourself?
We bought this house in 2009. So
okay, so you have 15 years.
Yeah, 15
yeah,
years.
You've been here a while.
Yeah.
And how have you felt like they've been performing? Was there a point where they were performing well and you've started to see them degrade?
Well, since we are living here, it depends on the season as well. But usually, for example, the bathroom areas are super cold.
Yeah.
And you could see, and you have to increase the power of your furnace because it's too cold sometimes. And the floors are always cold, so.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, the windows will improve that thermal performance. The other thing we notice in the bathroom especially is like condensation that's building up on the window. So you're seeing a lot of that. Mm-hmm. When it does hit those cold points in winter, are you seeing a lot of ice and frost build up on the glass?
Same as some of the closest window to the bathroom was also like that.
Yeah.
But I think it was because you open the bathroom doors and you have the condensation. We were seeing some ice there as well.
For sure, yeah. And as you increase that heat, you're gonna introduce more condensation happening there. So really understandable. So you felt like it was time then to replace the windows based on some of those factors?
Yeah, we were talking with a couple of friends and they mentioned that there was this program. So we knew that we needed to replace the windows.
And did you look at any other vendors or did you just go to Ecoline?
We went to you guys because you were recommended. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Just word of mouth? Just word of mouth recommendation, like from friends?
Yes, from friends.
Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic. So I also noticed we're right off Shaganappi here, and it looks like your bedroom kind of faces the road there.
Yes,
do you
that's right.
notice noise from the traffic? And
a lot of noise, a lot of dust coming in, and yep.
That's one thing that I think is underrated about new windows is how they'll dampen a lot of that sound. Like once you get to the triple pane level, and we get insulation in and actually seal up those surrounds. So I'd be curious after the fact to hear how you report the sound and the traffic, because
now I am hopefully, because sometimes during the night there are some bikes running a lot and you can hear the noise all the time, so they wake you up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that'll be a big performance improvement that you maybe weren't planning for, weren't accounting for, but just another like value add that will come with those. Hopefully. So hope some better sleep for you in the future.
Yes.
All right, so we have nail thin windows here, and as you can see, putting in a lot of work to get these out. Leaving the fin in and cutting the entire surround. So we got to kind of do it piece by piece here and cut through that. A lot more work than if we just had an insert. But again, this is the most efficient way for them to remove and replace these windows. Otherwise, we're taking off all cladding elements. On the back here, I think we just have siding straight across into J trim. So we'd be looking at pulling that off, cutting that back and replacing it. On the front, we have metal aluminum surround on the windows. So we'd be looking again, pulling those off, redoing any framing potentially to bring those into the window level if we wanted to replace it with nail fin, whereas the new window installation will just pop right in, sit inside this frame, nice and clean. When we're removing the nail fin. And what I was just talking about with the J trim, so that's this capping on the siding here. What we're seeing is that this is actually bonded from adhesive to this J trim. So if we wanted to get this out, we're gonna fight with these two plastic on plastics. One of them's gonna give, probably not the one that we want, and we're gonna end up breaking this and potentially needing to replace it. So looks like there's also just an excessive use of caulking here, which is just further creating that bond between the window fin and our siding surround, and it's making it a little troublesome to get this out. But that's where, if we wanted to replace this with nail fin, we're looking at taking all of this off, because this isn't going to be used again on a new set of windows that are being installed. So we're growing our scope of work by needing to do that. Look at the size of that frame. Way thicker than the original ones that we pulled out that were, you know, 2.5 inches thick. Like that's 6 inches plus a little bit on the outside. So we're fully filling out the depth of that window frame and getting a lot more thermal value with all of the air channels on the window itself there. I prefer the vinyl windows over wood frame just for their thermal performance. Wood is noted for creating cold points and thermal breaks on a building envelope. So when we look at like high performance buildings, there's a reason that we wrap them in exterior rigid insulation, and it's to minimize the thermal breaks that are caused from our wood stud framing being in contact with the outside air. So this very similarly reduces the amount of wood that is in direct contact with the outside air, because it's not a good thermal performer. With the vinyls, by going to a manufacturer, we get these channels that I can stick my fingers in, and those will hold air and help improve the thermal performance around the frame and through the frame, whereas you don't have that with wood. You just have a solid piece of lumber that will allow the transfer of cold through it. So overall, just a lot better assembly, and this is the modern way to go for a reason. So there's some good space here. You can get about up to that mid knuckle, lots of room. We will see how that fares against the frames that have been taken out of the home already. Here, that's probably, I guess, the center mullion there, but yeah, can't get in that part at all. And there is a similar chamber on the Ecoline one. So it has this chamber, this one, and then another one that's about the same size. So that chamber is actually pretty comparable, but on the Ecoline window, there is 2 of those. So again, you're getting that added depth. And what's really undervalued is that air is a good thermal performer, so long as it's in, you know, these concealed volumes and exposed to some heat and warmth. So when we have a concealed volume of air that can be contained in here, it will perform well thermally. Watching, making sure they are indeed getting everything nice and level, nice and square. You can see they're shimming this up. Got a nice gap around the entire window here for right now that we're gonna look to insulate. It's gonna be a nice little window. We have our new bathroom window loosely installed right now. See, we still got our shims in, so we'll break those off, and then next thing will be to fill the surrounding space with our insulative foam, and then that's what's gonna complete the seal here. And you can tell it's quite quiet in this room already. Like, we were just standing in the other room where there's no windows installed, and you can hear the traffic here pretty significantly. Once we get this foam in and a complete seal around this frame, I think this will be a pretty quiet space. It's been interesting to see the progression of the window removal as we've gone here. So what we're seeing is 2 different installation styles, which is interesting because all of these windows are original to the home. They're all from '96, and presumably the same builder, same contractor would have installed them all. But at the front of the home, we have the windows sitting on a continuous back dam with batt insulation that was stuffed at the sill. Whereas on these rear windows, we're seeing the windows not shimmed up at all, and they're sitting directly on the sill with no insulation at the base. So again, very, very curious, and just an interesting point that on the same home, we have multiple different installation styles and variants across the installs. Again, interesting to see on 30-year-old windows, the different installation applications that were applied, and one of them being the weep holes. So looks like we have 2 holes that are drilled on kind of where the screen would be. So that's going to relieve any water that's sitting on the upper part of the frame here. And then we kind of have the more traditional weep channels there that are going to drain any water that gets into this lower part of the frame underneath the window, that's going to run down the sides and drain out that way. So we have 2 sets of weep holes essentially on these windows, one at the upper level and one at the lower level. But just interesting that basically just looks like a drill hole.
You have a gun now.
I have a gun. I just received professional training with my gun, so I will be now performing a little insulation install.
Damn, man, you're a pro.
I'm a visual learner, and I've watched them do this a lot now. Now that I've finished applying the insulation around this window, we have it fully sealed, minus the cosmetic casings. And again, the big thing is how quiet this room is now. So if we pop this open, so you can instantly hear some of that traffic go by. There's a little bit of ambient white noise as well. And a big difference from when the window is shut. So we'll just hear a little bit traffic going by. And as soon as this gets closed again, that's completely muted. So while maybe not soundproof, this is gonna be a huge upgrade in terms of reducing sound transmission, especially once the other 2 windows on the front of this house get installed. So again, I think they'll be sleeping better in this home at night. We're just finalizing the primary bedroom right now. So we got some foam going in on the last 2 windows on the front here. This is what's gonna finish sealing those up and really soundproof the room, especially on this home, as it's been a good test case with Shag and Happy right across the street. Well, we got 3 windows in on the front of this home now, so just wrapping up here. This one has been a great pilot for understanding how triple glazed windows can help not only with thermal performance, but also sound, especially when you're in a high traffic area, you have a major roadway across the street or within close proximity, and you want to reduce sound in the home. I myself previously lived under an airport zone and noticed a major difference once I had triple glazed windows installed. So it's definitely an underrated, undervalued feature, and I'm glad we got to see it on this house. So this is Chris with the Calgary Home Inspector Corp, and approving of another great install by Ecoline Windows and Doors.